made, we're stuck with it until it gets overridden.
They come in with tests, they come in with their diagnostic categories from the DSM, and they say, we've done tests, we've determined that this person has this numbered malady, and therefore they do. And there's almost no way to pry a judge out of accepting that.
When a psychiatrist makes a diagnosis in court, is that the person is sent to a mental institution, deprived of liberty, and we have no idea whether he's guilty or not.
DSM の診断によって40秒ごとに誰かが強制的に精神施設に収容されているの。
それはひどいな。
精神科医の独断でいつでも誰でも全てを失う可能性があるの。これを見てみて。
I went to a stop smoking course at Vanderbilt, and the doctor, the lady that ran the program, said that she goes, we need to get you on a stop smoking medication. So she prescribed me Zyban. Well, after the fact, I find out that Zyban is nothing but this really powerful antidepressant called Wellbutrin. Yeah, I stopped smoking, but I had no idea the hell's gates were being opened when I started taking Zyban. I had been clean and sober for 18 years. Just never considered that. But something about that, I started experiencing the craving to drink again, and my life fell apart. Divorce, relapse. So then a sibling of mine got wind of my relapse, wanted to gain control of my pocketbook and my life, and found the dirtiest lawyer in town who knew, one of the dirty psychiatrists, and bought and paid for an evaluation, had a hearing in a court before I was ever served notice. And the next thing I know, every right that a human being can possibly have was taken from me. And you have less rights as a conserved person than you do as a criminal. I mean, you are stripped of every right. You can't enter into a contract. You cannot marry. You cannot sue. You cannot even fight the legal system that has involuntarily put you in this. And it was all based on the psychiatrist's diagnosis, who never evaluated me.
信じられないね。タバコをやめようとしただけで精神科医の診断を受け、権利を全てなくしたなんて。
さらにお金を全て奪われ、精神施設にまで入れられたんだものね。でも法定制度において精神科医が個人に対してよりも家族に対してすることはもっとひどいのよ。
Children are taken away from parents every day in these juvenile courts because a person with a PhD or an MD after their name comes in and says, I've shown ink blots to a person and they may be a risk to a child. Just in my little state of Massachusetts here, there are 11,000 children in captivity taken away from families at any one moment. And almost all of those children are being drugged. And our own commissioner of children and families testified under oath that they drug 88% of the children that they take out of the families.
88% も？ほぼ全員じゃん。
これは氷山の一角に過ぎないわ。世界中で精神科医は法廷を利用して人の権利を剥奪したり、家庭を破壊したりしているの。見てみて。
Psychiatry has affected my family through the family law court rulings. The family law court has a court-appointed child psychiatrist who, it appears, determines the future of the child.
It's just like a business in the court system that they forced you to undergo all of these psychological evaluations, and you have to pay thousands of dollars. But at the end of the day, it has been supported by no evidence, nothing.
They'd said to me, Deb, you have a choice. Either you bring your son to get medicated, or we'll take your child away from you and put him in a home that they'll medicate your child. And then good luck. Basically, they were saying, good luck, Deb, to try and get your son back, but you'll get him back medicated anyways.
And they put her in hospital, and that's when the psychotropic drugging started with Becky. And at that stage, I had no say over it.
They refused to let her go. They would not let my daughter go unless she take medication.
This was again a recommendation from the psychiatrist that once my son was radically ripped from his home and literally kidnapped and put in a new home with a perpetrator of domestic violence and of sexual assault, and is where he now lives, this psychiatrist said that he was never to have any counselling and never to see anybody.
To have your family just disrupted like that, ripped out from under you, really, your whole life, just gone like that, and then you have to fight every day to get him back. It was very devastating.
In some ways, it's worse than a death because it's unresolved, and you know what the truth is. And you feel like giving up and not fighting back for that custody of that child, but you can't. Yeah, there's just no justice.
これはひどい。法廷での独断的な診断によって家族が離れ離れになるなんて。
そうね。
So it's unfortunate that the courts have bought into the DSM. It's unfortunate that the whole psychiatric profession is wedded to the DSM. It's unfortunate that the psychiatric profession is in bed with the drug industry, and it's unfortunate that drugs that don't work are the common prescribed drugs for all manner of conditions in children and in adults. It's the wrong way to go.
Tinkle,
まさか赤ちゃんまで？
そうなの。赤ちゃんは精神医学にとって巨大な市場の標的にされているのよ。DSM にリストされている幼児障害の数は1952年に3つだったのが今では44になってるの。
15倍以上じゃないか。
でも DSM は基本的に幼児を診断すべきじゃないと認めてるの。
In early childhood, it may be difficult to distinguish symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder from age-appropriate behaviors in active children, such as running around or being noisy. We basically don't know the diagnosis from normal childhood. That's what that's saying.
注意欠陥多動性障害。つまりこれは精神科医が教室でじっとしていられない、そわそわする、走り回ったりする子供に対する評価なんだ。普通の子の行動じゃん。
そう、世界中の2000万人の子供が何らかの精神障害とレッテルを貼られたの。
子供を子供らしくさせておく代わりに、
今精神科医は子供が精神病で薬が必要だと保護者に伝えているの。
It used to be that you were on the playground, you'd have the weird kid, you had the shy kid, you had the goof off, you had the hyper kid. You can't have that anymore. Now it's all medical diagnoses.
For them to come up with new diseases and new issues and diagnosis in their book, it doesn't correct bad behavior, okay? They can give children all the pills they want. It still doesn't correct bad behavior.
The thinking still is, you must fit into this mold. And if you don't fit into this mold, there's something wrong with you. And if you're not the person who designs the mold, too bad for you.
A child is labeled and then they're brought to professionals who are trained a very particular way. They're all being trained that if the child fits into this category, then we should consider putting them on Ritalin because that's what they do. That is the protocol.
The way the Ritalin will be marketed to the parents is that they will say, this is a drug to calm your child down. What they won't say is that methylphenidate is a form of speed. It's a form of amphetamine, and what we're actually doing is overdosing your child on speed.
It's a stimulant. So naturally, it's going to increase heart rate, increase blood pressure, and you put a kid out on a football field on a hot summer day, and his risk of having a cardiac event of some sort has just gone up.
注意力の欠如という診断に対し、子供に与えられる興奮剤は科学的にはコカインと同じなんだって。
しかもこれはかなり乱用される確率が高いの。合衆国のリストではモルヒネ、アヘン、覚醒剤と同じカテゴリーになってるのよ。
じゃあ誰が次に精神科医の薬漬けの標的になるの？赤ちゃん？
その通り。彼らは診断基準0歳から3歳まで、通称 DC03 を使っているの。幼児版の DSM みたいなものね。これを見てみて。
We already targeted our school children with ADHD and bipolar. That's already done. That was done 20 years ago. And we're moving younger with DC03 to the 0 to 3 age group, where they're trying to make popular the idea that it's okay to medicate 0 to 3-year-olds.
The idea of a program to determine whether a child from birth to the age of 3 has a mental illness is so preposterous, so absolutely insane, that it's simply an additional part of the insanity that is now extant throughout this country. I cannot think of a program that is more insane than that.
How are they going to diagnose a 1-year-old or an infant with a psychological disorder? How do they know?
You almost have to ask ourselves, if our societies become sick, what are we doing to our fetuses, our infants, our children, that would make us need to have psychiatric medications?
We're rolling dice with life. We're rolling dice with our children who can't even discuss it with anybody. They have no control. They are the helpless victims. And the ones who are supposed to protect them and care aren't armed with the facts.
親がこれを知ったら激怒するだろうな。
もちろんよ。しかも DSM では子供から精神病が伝染する恐れがあるとも忠告しているの。
本当かよ。
DSM にある通りよ。
We're going to talk about some of the proposed changes that are suggested for DSM-5.
DSM-5 は DSM-4 よりももっと過激になるって聞いたけど。
その通り。
You've got 374 named diagnoses in DSM. Well, guess what? There's going to be more in DSM-5.
Why do we all of a sudden need a fifth DSM-5? Psychiatry wanted to broaden the horizons of